Hello, 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 all, and welcome to episode number 8 of the No Holds Barred podcast. I am flying solo here today in studio. It is just me. It is just myself. Murph, Griff, call me what you want. I'm better than Phil. That's all I can say. But today, I have a special guest with me live via Skype. That's right, live via Skype from the United States, from the great state of Connecticut. I'm going to bring him in right now. His name is Alex Lorenzo. Alex, welcome to the podcast.
Also known as the Better Lorenzo. Thank you for having me, Griff.
No problem, no problem. This isn't...
be on No Holds Barred.
Sounds good. We did one No Holds Barred episode before we did one 3-star podcast, so let's get that out of the way. But we're here today not to talk about wrestling. We're here today to talk about the 2018 NFL season. As you know, Alex and I are big football guys, fantasy, college, and the NFL, but today we're just talking NFL specifically. So, we ready to do this? First off, we're going to work our way down from division to division, and we're also going to talk about who we think is going to make the playoffs, and at the same time, too, we're also going to discuss potential teams who can surprise or shock. Let's just use a WWE reference. 2 teams from each conference that will shock the system this year and make the playoffs who did not make the playoffs, or 2 teams that making leaps and bounds. But one of those teams is the Chicago Bears, who earlier this morning went out and acquired Khalil Mack from the Chicago Bears, from the Oakland Raiders. What the hell is Oakland thinking?
I woke up to this news this morning, and I was utterly shocked. I guess that if they were going to trade him, they wanted to trade him to a team they think that would give them 2 good picks. We don't specifically know what they got in return yet, but all I've heard is horror stories from Oakland, John Gruden, and Khalil Mack barely even speaking, let alone working out a deal. So this has been. Are we allowed to swear on this podcast?
Yeah, we're allowed to swear. Just don't swear like a sailor.
All right. Well, this has been effed since Jump Street. I'll just say that. So I don't know what is going on in Oakland, but they need to figure it out.
And even, too, with the fact that your team's going to be moving cities in either next year or the year after, I'm not sure exactly when the stadium in Vegas is going to be done. But at the same time, too, you don't have a star to promote. Like, I know Derek Carr and Amari Cooper and Marshawn Lynch are still big, but that's big in Oakland. Vegas, on the other hand, I feel like Vegas is going to want to be expecting a winner, seeing what happened with the Golden Knights earlier this year when it was, okay, that Band of Misfits team who almost they made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. They had a chance to win, but they didn't. So Oakland's just a clusterfuck stadium team. You bring in John Gruden, which part of me does still think it was a bit of a publicity stunt just to kind of get that Vegas buzz generating. Because Jack Del Rio was a good coach for them. But at the same time, too, Gruden was always talking about, oh yeah, I want to coach Khalil Mack. He's such a good guy. NFL Defensive Player of the Year. And then you just say, yeah, no, we don't want to talk anymore, and you're going to go to Chicago. Like, that whole, we'll get into it later, but that whole AFC West is a bit of a clusterfuck right now as to who's going to win it. But there are 2 teams who I do think that have a shot at winning it, and one of them is not Oakland.
Yeah, Oakland 2 years ago was a great team. I honestly think they could have went to the Super Bowl if Derek Carr didn't get hurt. Then the year after that, when he came back, they were a complete disappointment. I do like Jack Del Rio a lot. I think he was a coach who takes a lot of risks, and I think that's always it's not always the smart move, but it's always entertaining. And I would like a coach who has some balls. So I did like Jack Del Rio, but if John Gruden was the Giants head coach, if he had got hired, I'd be pumped. I think he's a very, very smart, football-minded person, but he did get a ridiculous contract for a coach.
Yeah, like I couldn't believe. I think it's like 10 years for $100 million or somewhere between 80 to 100. But
yeah, I think he retires before Bill Belichick retires.
Oh, for sure. Like I think. With the Patriots, honestly, I think Brady's the first to go, and then Belichick will stay. And then I think Belichick eventually, he'll either go. It will be one of those things, kind of like in the NHL with Lou Lamoriello, where will he retire first or will he die first?
Yeah, I could see. Yeah, Brady will go, and then like 2 or 3 years later, the Patriots will be like good but not great, and then I think he'll just retire.
Part of me with the Patriots always thinks that it's going to be like with the Colts after Manning, where they have that one bad season, and then they draft like this amazing quarterback out of college, and then are relevant, hopefully with health provided.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah, because the Colts...
Giants could have done that. They could have stepped ahead of the curve and drafted their future quarterback while still having their veteran quarterback, but they chose not to.
No, but actually, since you brought up the Giants, actually, instead of going in order, let's just talk about divisions. I actually think the NFC East is the first one we should talk about, because that is one of the more compelling divisions in the NFL this year. like the Giants, you guys have a good offensive head coach. Hopefully, you can get Eli back on track because you had that moron McAdoo before who decided to bench him.
Yep.
OBJ's paid and secured.
Yep.
Saquon Barkley's a beast and has amazingly big quads.
Offense. Eli has a lot of weapons, and the offensive line has been patched. It's not fixed yet, but it's definitely better than last year.
Nate Solder is going to be an amazing left tackle for you guys.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to be worse than we were last year. But in that division, it'll be pretty hard. It'll be pretty hard to win it. The Giants would have to hope for a wild card, I would think, but we'll get to that. Do you want to say who you think is going to win the division or what?
I think it's going to be Philadelphia. Like quarterback health, I feel like Nick Foles will start the season, but then I feel like too, even though Carson Wentz is the better quarterback, if you're Philadelphia, if Foles is playing really well and Carson Wentz comes back and is healthy, do you stick with Foles or do you go back to Wentz? Because I do have Philly winning the division.
Go back to Wentz as soon as he's healthy.
Yeah.
He's the future. He's the better quarterback. I know Nick Foles works great with the system, but you have to go with Wentz as soon as possible. I do think the Eagles will repeat as division champs. They will probably go like 13-3, or honestly like 14-2. They somehow had enough money to spend and get a lot of adds to their needs, and which is ridiculous because they were already the best team in football last year. So I think there's very little losses that they have on their schedule. Just looking real quick at their schedule.
I think they open against the Falcons. They open against the Falcons and they go to Tampa Bay week 2, which that's probably 2 wins right there. But at the same time, too,
they have to play. They play the Vikings, which is a good team, but at home. They play the Panthers at home. The Jaguars on the road could be tough, but it's not like going into Jacksonville is that hard.
I think the game may be in Europe, actually.
It might be. Yeah, it's at 9:30 a.m.
Yeah, it's that game, and then I know the Broncos and the Raiders.
Yeah, in New Orleans, kind of tough. And then the one game I could see them losing is in L.A. against the Rams. But last year when they played in L.A., the Rams fan base was inexistent, and they were all cheering for the Eagles.
Yeah, and at the same time, too, I believe that's the game where Wentz actually tore his ACL. And even, too, with Philadelphia, they added Michael Bennett to an already stacked defense.
Yeah.
The only big loss was losing inside the guy who's now probably going to prison, Michael Kendricks, for insider trading. That's the only real loss in defense. But apart from that, you still have that amazing secondary of Jalen Mills, Darby, and I forget the other 2 guys. Oh, who's the one guy from Seattle?
What position?
Cornerback. I know Byron Maxwell. I think it might be Byron Maxwell.
Right.
The guy that clocked Cooks in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah.
All right, so
But
I have the Eagles winning the division, the Giants coming in second, Dallas coming in third. I don't believe Dallas's defense is good. They have no wide receivers. Dak will have to prove that he could play without Dez or any. He has Cole Beasley and Allen Hurns. That's about it. And then Washington will probably come in fourth. Geis already tore his ACL like week 2 of the preseason, so it's not looking good for them. And it's Alex Smith with pretty much nothing around him.
yeah, and like even with Dallas too, like Ezekiel Elliott can't do everything on his own. Like already a team that has just running back power. You need a quarterback to win, honestly. Like Dallas, and even with their defense too, Sean Lee's not getting any younger, and as well too, they did lose Travis Frederick to that. I think it's an illness of some kind, but even too, that's the only good part of Dallas right now is that offensive line, and it took a major hit this offseason.
Yeah, and they lost Witten to retirement.
ESPN.
And they drafted a tight end, but who knows how that'll turn out.
And they drafted a linebacker who basically is Sean Lee's replacement. And I know Britton was not happy with that.
Well, Sean Lee is very injury prone, so he's amazing, but he does get hurt a lot. So it's smart for them to try to replace him because that is a position where you need a really good player to be successful.
Unlike those idiots on the NBC Sports Board, so I saw a few months back saying, "Oh yeah, the Cowboys are going like 13-3. The only loss is like at Philly versus Houston and like one other." I'm like, "Are you fucking high?" The Cowboys are like an 8-8, like 8-8 to 10-6. You guys, I'm gonna probably peg it. I think you guys can finish with 10-6 or 11-5 potentially.
Yeah, probably more 9-7, 10-6. The schedule's pretty rough.
Yeah, you open at Jacksonville.
The Giants' deep secondary is pretty rough right now. We have Landon Collins, Jenkins, and that's about it. We got Alec Ogletree, who in the preseason got exposed through the passing game. He looks like he's losing slow motion. So I don't really know about the defense. The Giants, for the first time in 2 years, should be able to put up 35 points in a game with this offense. This offense has to score a lot of points for the Giants to be successful.
Who do you guys play in week 3, by the way? Because I know week 1 you open, I believe, is it at home to Jacksonville, and then you go to Dallas for the always fun and entertaining week 1 or week 2 Sunday nighter with the Cowboys.
It's at home against Jacksonville, in Dallas, and then in Houston.
That's a pretty tough opening stretch there for you guys.
And then at home against the Saints, in Carolina for the Panthers, and at home against the Eagles, in Atlanta.
That's a pretty tough stretch down there.
Brutal. And then versus Redskins, and then at 49ers.
That's actually want to go into that division next, because to me that's so we'll go to the NFC West next, because I feel like that's the most intriguing division this year, because I'm pretty sure the Rams are going to win the division, but I feel like the 49ers can contend. We don't know exactly what the Cardinals are with a really good defensive-minded head coach that's coming in. I believe Steve Wilk is his name, from Carolina. And at the same time, too, you don't know what Josh Rosen's going to be, even though I feel like I have high hopes for him. They have Christian Kirk, who they drafted out of Texas A&M.
Rosen's the guy I wanted from the draft.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a stud. Him and Baker Mayfield, I think, are going to be great. Darnold has surprised me so far in the preseason. I thought he was going to be a bust. Still could be, obviously. And I have no idea about Josh Allen. He's pretty far away from being a player.
I think he's still developing. Like I think he's gonna do a lot of stupid plays in the regular season. Kind of like, I was actually listening to a podcast. You're not gonna like this, from Barstool, about college football, and they're talking about Tua, basically saying how the play before he threw that touchdown against Georgia, he was pedaling back, and then he just launched that bomb into the end zone to win it for Alabama. I feel like Allen's going to be doing a lot of simple rookie mistakes throughout the beginning of the season, but then eventually I feel like he's going to have to work and find his own and get into that rhythm and groove where he's an NFL quarterback. But I feel like you're going to see just a lot of bombs from him, but they're going to go incomplete. And also, too, Buffalo doesn't have any... He's only got Calvin Benjamin to throw to. Buffalo's receiving corps took a bit of a hit. Most of the guys are gone.
I don't think Allen will start, because I think they're going to start A.J. McCarron.
It'll be Peterman, because McCarron's got the collarbone issue.
Oh, yeah, Peterman.
So 5 interceptions in the first.
Allen will, I forgot about that. Allen will probably get a start way too early. He needs to sit for a while, but Peterman's very bad.
Yes, because I know they open up at Baltimore and home to the Chargers, which that could be a 1-1, because those are two very toss-up games where you don't know what's going to happen. But going back to the West, though, there's only one team I can see being bad, and that is Seattle, just because they are on the downcline. They've lost a lot of talent. Their only bright sides, though, are still they have Russell Wilson, and also I really like the running back, Rashard Penny.
Russell Wilson's going to have to beat Tom Brady if they're going to have a decent season.
Yeah.
He's going to have to make guys. He has Baldwin. That's about it. He's going to have to make guys look good. I have the Rams winning that division by a lot. I think they'll have over 11 wins. Probably San Francisco in second and Arizona in third, but I think that's a toss-up. We really will get to see how good Jimmy G really is this year, which is exciting.
Because the other thing, too, with Jimmy is, as a Patriots fan, I love Jimmy Garoppolo, but at the same time, too, last year, he had a bit of a stretch down the road where he wasn't playing exactly teams who were good. So, you remember how when Dallas, the one season, they basically shocked the world and went, I think, 13-3?
13-3, yeah, Dax review.
They played a lot of teams who were bad because of their 4-12 season from before. So I feel like with
finishing fourth, you get to play other teams that finished in fourth.
Exactly, and with San Francisco, I believe they finished fourth in their division this year. So they're going to get a lot of easier teams. They do have a tough opener though again at Minnesota.
Yeah, that'll be rough.
That'll be a really good game though.
Lost though, but his numbers at the end of the season were they put a comparison I saw on SportsCenter or something where it was his numbers and Kaepernick's numbers in the last 6 games they had both played, and Kaepernick's were slightly better. So I think Jimmy G is getting a little overrated because he keeps winning, but we'll see how good he actually is with a full season under his belt.
Exactly, and even too with Jimmy, yeah, it's just a full season. But then I know it's Minnesota and then Detroit. So Detroit's a very another questionable team. But with that division as well, like, do you see San Francisco winning more than 9 games, or do you think they're going to be like 9-7 or potentially 10-6 like the Giants?
I could see them being a 10-6 team. Vikings is probably a loss. Lions, they could win at home. Chiefs at home, they'll probably lose. It's 2 losses. Chargers could honestly be a toss-up. We'll get to them, but Chargers could shock the NFL this year. They play the Packers at home, the Rams twice.
One of those, I believe, is a Sunday night football game.
They have a decent schedule. I could say, about 9-7, 10-6.
Yeah, and then Arizona probably 8-8 or 7-9, and then Seattle probably I'd say 5-11 or 10-6.
Yeah, 6-10. You mean?
Yeah, 6-10.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I agree with that.
Yeah, like Seattle's gonna be that team where I feel like they're gonna lose a lot of close games. Like they'll be competitive, but they're just gonna not have enough just to push them over the hump because it's not the Seattle team we saw even 3 years ago in that Super Bowl against the Pats.
Yeah, the defense has been ripped and torn and just gutted.
Yeah. But anyway, the next division I want to talk about too is another interesting one, and that's the NFC South. No, the only division that's changed champs the last 3 years, and 2 of the 3 went to the Super Bowl. You've got New Orleans, you've got Atlanta, you've got Carolina, and you've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going to get this out of the way right now. The Bucs are going to be last place. I feel like this is going to be Dirk Cutter's last season there.
They're going to win like 3 games at most.
They don't, like, Jameis Winston's, like, the only good thing about that team is Mike Evans.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Evans is literally the only good thing about that team. $55 million guaranteed contract.
Yeah, he's stuck there now.
Yeah. Carolina's the big question mark for me is how will Christian McCaffrey be as good as he was in his rookie season? And also, too, they do have Peppers back, but he's older. They have still Kuechly. Who's their receivers? Devin Funchess and...
Nobody
yeah.
great.
So,
they drafted... no, Atlanta drafted Calvin Ridley.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'll look it up.
Yeah. But for me, I still think... I'm going to say this division changes hands again. I think Atlanta's going to win, and then New Orleans, and then Carolina. Because with the thing with...
drafted DJ Moore. That's who they drafted.
Yeah, because I know Calvin Ridley did go to Atlanta because I have him on one of my fantasy teams.
Torrey Smith, Preston Burson, guy I never heard of, Jarius Wright, and then a bunch of crappy players, and Devin Funchess.
Torrey Smith is one of those players where he is a bit of a journeyman because like, he's been to Baltimore, he's been to San Francisco, he's been to Philly, I think he's been with a couple other teams. But yeah. he's always kind of coming out of nowhere and just like really impressed wherever he's played. Not so much with San Fran because he was with San Fran during their bad times, but he won a Super Bowl with the Ravens and he won a Super Bowl with the Eagles.
I say he's very just solid.
Yeah, he's a solid receiver. He's a good flex player.
Not number 1, but he's a good 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really a toss-up. I feel like Atlanta isn't going to be as good as they have been in the past. Last year, they obviously they made the playoffs, but they weren't anything.
Beat the Rams, but then they lost that close one because Matt Ryan overthrew it to Julio in the end zone for that in the divisional round against the Eagles.
Yeah, they should have fucking beat Philadelphia. But I just remember, like, throughout the season last year, like, I wasn't impressed. They were winning games, but, like, games they should have lost. Like, week 1, they almost lost to the Bears last year.
Oh, that's right. They won on a last-minute field goal. I remember in my survival pool, I picked them to beat the Bears, and they literally, I'm, like, going down, and then they got the field goal, but then Mike Glennon was going downfield, and they got stopped on 4th down, so that's why they lost the game.
They lost 3 straight weeks last year. The Buffalo, Miami, and the Patriots, two shitty teams in the past.
They played really shitty against, like, I remember, because the way they played in the Super Bowl and the way they played against the Patriots in, like, I think it was week 7, were 2 totally different teams. The Patriots were all over the Falcons in that game. I remember that game very well. It was a very...
23-7.
Yeah, it was a very foggy night in Foxborough.
Yeah, they almost lost to the Jets.
Yeah.
They almost lost to the Seahawks. They almost lost to the Saints, but that's all right. They almost lost to the Bucs. They were not that impressive for a team that went 10-6 and made the playoffs and made it to the second round.
Yeah, like something just tells me that they're going to win the division, but like it's either them or the Saints who are winning this division. Like, Alvin Kamara is a monster. Even though the Saints did lose Mark Ingram for the first 4 games, you've got Kamara, who's
you don't even need Ingram at this point.
No, like Ingram probably will get cut at some point or traded, but you got Breeze is still good. You got Michael Thomas. Their defense, if their defense can stay healthy and play well, consistent football, that's a very scary team.
I will pick them to win the division as well. Or will you pick the Falcons, right?
I don't know why. It's just because whenever the Saints and the Falcons play, it's always a toss-up.
Yeah.
And I just believe in the whole, it's going to change hands, but like it's going to be like last year where the Saints are like, one of them's 11-5 and one of them's 10-6. And I think the Panthers also will be 10-6, but they'll lose divisional games. Because for some reason, whenever Cam plays the Saints in New Orleans, he always loses, but for some reason, he always wins at home.
Yeah. Breeze is Michael Thomas, Willie Snead, Jaquan Smith.
Snead's in Baltimore now.
What?
I think Snead's in Baltimore.
Is he?
I'm pretty sure.
I Googled wide receivers. He still came up.
Okay.
Yeah, he is on the Ravens. Thanks, Google. Either way, Drew Brees is one of the quarterbacks that can make an average wide receiver look good.
Exactly.
But the main part, which has been the downfall of the Saints for the past forever, is their defense.
And their offensive line.
Their defense was great last year, and I think they got a little better this year with guys being in their second year and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think the Saints will win the division, followed by the Falcons, followed by the Panthers, followed by the last place awful Buccaneers.
Yeah. The Buccaneers is one coach, though, where he probably is going to get fired at the end of the year.
Probably, and it won't change anything.
No, literally, no. Jameis Winston, I think, is one of those quarterbacks who was great in college, yet when he gets to the NFL, he's kind of average or middle of the pack.
Yeah, and he's going to keep getting in trouble because he's an idiot.
Yes. Alrighty, so on to the NFC North now, which this is another division where it's a very big toss-up year. The Packers are back with Aaron Rodgers healthy. The Minnesota Vikings got Kirk Cousins.
Very rich man, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, very rich man Aaron Rodgers. Also very rich man Kirk Cousins, too. I think it's
true.
It's a 100% guaranteed contract.
Yep.
Green Bay also did add Jimmy Graham at the tight end position. And they still have they did lose Jordy Nelson, but they also do have Randall Cobb. Still have Randall Cobb. The big thing for me...
Adams.
Yeah, and Adams. And also Montgomery running the ball. Mm-hmm. The only thing for the Packers is health. If the Packers can stay... It's like the Saints with defense, but the Packers offense. If that Packers offense stays healthy, they're going to contend. Personally, before we start, I'm going to pick Minnesota to win the division just because I think they're a better team overall. And also, too, Minnesota won the division last year when they lost Dalvin Cook, who in my opinion is one of the best young running backs coming up in this league. He was great in Florida State. He's great now with the Vikings. So imagine that. You're going to have Cousins, hopefully, who, even if he plays the same level he did when he was in Washington, just the weapons around him. You've got Diggs, you've got Rudolph, you've got Thielen. Mm-hmm. You've got that great offensive line. They got a great defense.
I'm going to pick the Green Bay Packers to win, and here's why. Last year, Aaron Rodgers didn't have the best supporting cast. His defense was trash, and I believe they went 5-0 until he got injured.
Yeah.
I think this man can do anything. He can win games by himself.
Look at the Lions 2 years ago.
If he's healthy, I think they win this division. Also, Minnesota, very tough schedule.
They open versus San Fran.
49ers, Packers. They play at the Rams, at the Eagles, against the Saints, in New England, in Seattle, which I know they're bad, but it's still, you'd rather play them at home than away.
Yeah, Seattle's still a very tough crowd no matter how good or bad they are.
So they got a bunch of toss-up games that are all on the road, which if they were at home, you could see swinging their way, but I'm just going to pick Green Bay because of that bad man, Aaron Rodgers.
That bad man. But then with Detroit and Chicago, I still feel like Detroit's going to be 7-9 or 8-8. And then you and I were talking about this earlier. Even though they added Khalil Mack, and the kid's name I believe is Raekwon Smith from Georgia, the linebacker. So they've got the two good defenders. Chicago doesn't really have much else. Mitch Trubisky's still Trubisky. You got Trey Burton. I believe they added... You said Hearns went to the Cowboys, right?
Yeah.
I believe Allen Robinson's now on the Allen Robinson's in Chicago
Robinson.
now. They got a new head coach. That's the other thing, too. Detroit and Chicago, both with new head coaches. Matt Patricia for Detroit and what's his name? Matt Nagy, Kansas City offensive coordinator, is now coaching the Bears. Anything's better than John Fox in Chicago because I know Bears fans hated him.
Yeah, he was pretty bad.
But the same thing, too, like Trubisky's still a young quarterback. He's still coming into his own. Personally, I still think that John Lynch fleeced the Bears last year when swapping picks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing, too. John Lynch, for a guy who didn't have any general manager experience, he's doing pretty good with the 49ers.
I think the Bears are on the up. Mitch Trubisky just needs to learn how to pass more and complete more passes. There's a lot of games where he didn't get over 200 yards passing.
Jesus,
which is insane.
Would you compare the Chicago Bears to kind of like the NFL's version of what the Buffalo Sabres are? They've got some talent there, but they just got to kind of go out there and prove everyone.
Yeah, except the Bears were actually good ones.
Yeah,
I guess the Sabres a long time ago.
Yeah, Sabres.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Okay.
Trubisky, 25 attempts for 128 yards, 16 attempts for 113, not bad. 32 attempts, 164. Then he started playing a lot. 33 attempts in a game for 147. 30 attempts for 179. He only had over 300 yards passing once.
Jesus.
He just never impressed me when I was watching his games.
Yeah, he was
7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 2,193 yards.
Wow.
Last year, and he played in from week 5 on.
One thing though with the NFC is I'm realizing this. The division races are going to be interesting, but those wild card races are going to be something else. Because think about all the teams who could be in the wild card hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Like Minnesota or Green Bay, anyone in the NFC South, the Giants, the 49ers. Only 2 of those teams are going to make it.
Yeah, that's why as a Giants fan, I'm worried. I would probably, if I had to pick right now, it'd be the Falcons and the Vikings.
If I had to pick right now, I also wanted to ask you something. 2 teams who you think are going to make the playoffs this year who did not make it last year.
All right, so I have the Eagles who made it, the Packers who didn't, so the Packers. Vikings made it, Saints made it, the Falcons made it, and the Rams made it. So if I had to pick another one who could make it, who didn't make it last year, I'll go with the Giants.
For me, I'm going to go with, it's going to sound weird, even though it's 2 teams, I'm going to say 3 because I'm thinking the Packers for sure. And it's either going to be a toss-up between, I know I was telling you earlier, I think about the Cardinals, but the more I think about it and look at it, they still got some issues. And also, too, David Johnson's health is a big factor. If he goes down, if he stays healthy, that team can be a playoff team as long as Rosen comes in and is playing what they say is the most NFL-ready quarterback. But I think the Giants or the 49ers this year have a better chance at making the playoffs than the Arizona Cardinals do, just simply based on quarterbacks and overall talent around them. Because at the same time, too, like Saquon Barkley is a much better running back than David Johnson, in my opinion, even though Saquon Barkley hasn't played yet.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that David Johnson's more of a fantasy gem. But at the same time, too, Saquon Barkley is just going to come into the league, and I believe he's just going to find those holes. It's going to be that running game I think the Giants haven't had since Tiki.
Hopefully better too.
Exactly.
He could be the best running back in franchise history. Could be the best running back in NFL history. We won't know. Well, so it's all said and done.
Okay. And with that being said, we're going to now move on to the AFC. I want to talk to you first. Let's get this out of the way. I want to talk about the East first because we all know who's winning the division, and we all know the other teams are shit.
Miami, baby.
Miami's going to win, 3? Miami's going to be like Tampa. They're going to win, 3 or 4 games max.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like Seattle in a way, though, where they're going to be close, but they're going to lose a lot of bad ones. And I believe, too, do you think Adam Gase can get fired for this?
I mean, he doesn't have much in front of him.
Yeah.
But, if a team's desperate, they're not going to fire their players. They're going to fire their coach.
Exactly. That's why I feel like at the same time, too, Todd Bowles is on the hot seat in New York. But at the same time, too, he's not that bad of a coach.
No, he's actually kind of a good coach, but
yeah.
He is on the hot seat, and I think he keeps his job after this year.
Same with McDermott.
But
I was going to say Sean McDermott in Buffalo as well. I don't see him getting fired unless the Bills have a catastrophically horrible season.
Yeah, I think both Bowles and Maccagnan, their GM, saved their jobs this year because Sam Darnold will play well.
And also, too, even though he's facing those charges, Robbie Anderson's still a very good player. You still, even though, that's another thing I want to tell you about, I just figured out, Muhammad Wilkerson's on the Packers, too. That's going to be pretty scary on the defensive line there.
You know, the Jets next year are going to be scary because they have a boatload of money to spend this offseason. And if they can get a top wide receiver, maybe, I don't know how their offensive line is. They just lost, who retired? The all-pro, center.
Mangold. Long blonde hair.
So if they can replace him, they can add to the receiving core because Robbie Anderson and Quincy Enunwa are fine, but they're not number ones.
No, it's the same thing too. I'm not going to compare the two, but Robbie Anderson's good for he's good from a fantasy perspective. He'll get you the numbers he needs because he may not get a lot of touchdowns, but he can run fast and he'll get downfield.
Yeah, I have the Patriots obviously winning.
Yes.
Jets coming in second, and then Buffalo, Miami.
That's interesting because I have Miami. I think Buffalo will be worse than the Jets too, just because Darnold is obviously a better quarterback than Allen and Peterman, obviously. But at the same time too, it's going to be the Bills probably going to win 6 max. Because the Bills for some reason are always competitive. The Jets and the Patriots at MetLife mostly, but sometimes at Gillette always have competitive games. But the Patriots ultimately, they have a pretty good, even though they're probably going to win the division, they do have a little bit of tough out the gate. They start at home versus Houston, then go to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are going to be 2 tough games. And also, I know they also have the NFC North, so then because they have the Texans, Jaguars, Lions, Dolphins, Colts, Chiefs. Those are their first 6. Because the Patriots, it's weird. Their bye week's also later in the season, so which I think would be better. But at the same time, too, they did lose a bunch of players this year, but at the same time, too, Belichick's going to do what Belichick does best, find diamonds in the rough, and literally Brady's going to set the world on fire like he always does. My only concern with the Patriots, really, is their secondary.
Yeah, their defense is always a question, but even when it seems to be bad, they always perform.
Yeah, them and also, too, offensive line help, and also losing Nate Solder was a really big blow. And also, first-round draft pick Isaiah Wynn, same injury as Geis, tearing his ACL. It was ACL or Achilles, actually. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and Edelman out for 3 games.
4.
Or 4, yeah.
And Decker retiring, too, and also releasing Malcolm Mitchell, releasing Jordan Matthews, releasing Kenny Britt. They're relying on, it's going to be, for the first few games, receiving, it's going to be Chris Hogan. You still got a monster who wears the number 87.
Yeah.
And you've got Braxton Berrios from Miami.
I think Sony Michel as your running back will be good too. I think he'll be good.
Him, White, and Burkhead they're all really good talents. I like them. And also too, Jeremy Hill, LSU boy.
Yeah, he sucks. I love him, but he sucks.
He sucks, but the Patriots are always good at utilizing people their talents. And also
I hope that it revitalizes his career because I like him so much.
Cordell Patterson as well from Oakland.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I think James White is also really good. If it's him and Michelle, screw Burkhead. I think those 2 guys will have a good season. Yeah. But going back to the Jets for a second, they have the worst schedule for the first 3 weeks. Not by teams they play, but when they play. They play Monday, Sunday, and Thursday. They play 3 games in 11 days.
Jesus. Because I know they open at the Lions. Then week 3 is against Cleveland because that's everyone's pegging as Cleveland. We'll get that later on. But everyone's pegging that as Cleveland's first win of the year. Who do they week 2?
They play the Dolphins in between.
1 and 2.
So yeah, they can go 1 and 2, 2 and 1.
3-0 for some miraculous miracle if the Lions are shit.
Yeah,
but Matt Stafford's unreal.
It's really a toss-up. I think both teams are pretty equal. I think the Jets' defense is going to surprise a lot of people. I think that it's really good. Fantasy, I was shocked it was ranked one of the worst, but their secondary is really good. Run game, they're going to have trouble with the run, but their secondary with Adams and May
and Screen.
They signed what's his name, the cornerback. I gotta look it up.
I know they also do. They have Buster Screen, I think, still as well. And also Leonard Williams coming off that edge rush.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So the run game might not be as bad as I thought, but where's this guy?
It's not Chris. Isaiah Crowell, I think it is, from Cleveland.
No, he's a running back.
No, as I was saying, for the run game.
Oh yeah. I meant stopping the run game.
Oh, okay.
The run game's decent. Oh, they got Tremaine Johnson.
Oh, okay.
And also got Morris Claiborne, LSU, who was pretty awful. And Rashad Robinson from LSU.
Yeah.
And Adams. They're pretty stacked with LSU players.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway.
Let's talk about a good division now, and that's the AFC South.
Very good division. And it's usually the worst division, so it's good to see some change.
Yeah, because...
if I had to pick an AFC team to be a fan of, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm picking them to win the division.
I like the Jaguars too, but if healthy, I'm going with the Houston Texans.
It's going to be very close. They're both very good teams, very great defenses.
The only thing where I think Jacksonville wins in, because like receiving, you've got receiving and running backs. I'm going to give running backs to Jacksonville because Leonard Fournette's better than Lamar Miller.
Mm-hmm.
But that receiving core, you got Will Fuller, you got DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
Over, I think it's Keenan Cole, D.D. Westbrook. And as well, I know you're going to hate this, but Jacksonville has a good offensive line. They got better adding Brad Norwell. I don't know if that was you or Matt who was really pissed off about that.
All of the Giants fans, because we were trying to get him, and he's really good.
Yeah, and he signed there. They have that amazing...
Go off.
Yeah, they have that amazing Jackson. And also, too, the big thing with Houston, will Watt stay healthy?
Yeah, will Watson also stay healthy?
Yeah, Watson also stay healthy. And with Jacksonville, too, that defense is just amazing. Calais Campbell, Telvin Smith, the mouthy Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
Who do they also have? It's just so much talent. Like when you see Calais Campbell, he's literally that monster come to life. He seems like such a kind of like a gentle giant in a way, but when he gets those pads on and he puts that helmet on, he's gonna smack some people to the ground. I can see Jacksonville winning, but I'm just going Houston just because I feel like, and also too because Deshaun Watson, if he's healthy, we saw him light the world up. We saw him. He lit the Patriots up week 3 last year. It took literally a miracle catch from Brady to Brandon Cooks to win that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have Tennessee coming in 3rd and Indianapolis still staying in 4th. But get this. In the preseason, I know it doesn't mean much.
Yeah.
It's just weird to see that the plus-minus for point differential for Tennessee is minus 50.
Wow.
They have been not playing well.
There's
3 teams in the AFC that have a negative differential. Buffalo with minus 15, the Chargers with 24, and Tennessee with 50.
Tennessee's going to be... They're not going to make the playoffs again this year. I know
Atlanta was minus 69 somehow.
Jesus. But the Colts, I think the Colts will contend, but like not contend for playoffs. Like they'll be better than last year. If Luck stays healthy, they're going to be better. If T.Y. is healthy, their big question, it's been a question for a while, defense.
Yeah, their defense is brutal.
Yeah, and also their run game, I don't really know who's running the ball. Oh, right, they got Marlon Mack.
Yeah, we'll see how that works. Yeah, Tennessee last year was very good. Surprisingly good. Mariota's legit. I think he's really good.
They also added former New England Patriots, Dion Lewis, who I know is not going to be the starting running back because you've got a man in Derrick Henry.
Yeah, he's really good too.
And also to Malcolm Butler in that cornerback position. And also to former New England Patriots defensive pro, Mike Vrabel's our new head coach.
Right.
Yeah, so a lot of Patriot connections down in Tennessee. And also former tight end Jason McCourty is now with the New England Patriots. So you have both twins on the one team.
All right, so what do you have? How do you have that division finishing?
Houston, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Indianapolis.
All right.
I bet with Houston and Jacksonville, though, it's going to be... I think one team's 12-4, one's 11-5.
Yeah, something like that.
And then Tennessee 7-9, and then the Colts 5-11.
I'll go Jacksonville 13 wins, Houston 11, Tennessee 8, and Indianapolis 4. I really don't know how to play out though, because you gotta, if that's even possible, with how many times they play each other and who they play and however many wins they get from other people who I said, you gotta really, to make predictions, you gotta go through every team and see it.
Exactly. And with the Patriots, especially back to them, 13 wins over under?
Patriots?
Yeah.
Let me look at their schedule. Since it's your team, let's go in depth.
I can literally name off the schedule off the top of my head.
I don't doubt that. Texans win at Jaguars. I'll say loss. Lions win. Dolphins win. Colts win. Chiefs at home win. Bears win. Bills win. Home against the Packers, I'll say they lose, just to make it interesting. Titans win. Jets win. Vikings at home win. Dolphins win. At Steelers, I feel like they always somehow win this game. So win. Bills and then Jets. So that's 2 losses. So, yeah, over 12, definitely.
Yeah, they'll be
14.
12 to 14 is always the thing. That's the Patriot way. But I want to save this division for last, so we're not going to talk about it right away. I want to talk about the NFC. I keep saying NFC. AFC West. I think this division, too, you've got 2 teams who are on the downcline. You've got 2 teams who are on the come-up. The surprising rebirth of the Chargers. The Kansas City, I know Patrick Mahomes is good. I just want to see him ball.
Yeah. But they got so many weapons.
Sammy Watkins.
Hill, who'd you say?
Sammy Watkins.
Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt. Their defense is still good with, who do they have? Justin Houston. Who's their cornerback?
Eric Berry.
Yep.
Coming off, he tore his Achilles. The only big loss is Marcus Peters.
Oh, yeah, Peters is out.
They still have Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce, well, yeah, savage. Their offense is really good.
They have a good offensive line, too.
Would be good, but we'll know.
Yeah. And then Denver's
bad offense, great defense.
Yeah, that doesn't win
their line.
Yeah.
They had a great line with Von Miller, and then they just added, what's his name from the draft?
Bradley Chubb.
Yeah, Bradley Chubb.
You still have Derek Wolfe. Who else do you have? Sylvester Williams, I think, is still on there. Like, I don't know much about the Broncos because, like, the Broncos is one of those teams I never really cared about. To me, like, if they didn't have Manning, I don't think they go to the Super Bowl. It's so weird though because even on the offensive side of the ball, they still have Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, and then I want to see what Royce Freeman's like.
Yeah, I just think they got the wrong quarterback.
Yeah, Case Keenum's not gonna do what he did in Minnesota.
He was good with Shermer in the Vikings system. I don't think he will be good in Denver.
Coach questions for you. If the Chiefs don't win a playoff game, do you think this is Andy Reid's last season in Kansas City? And with the same thing with Vance Joseph.
It's hard because this is Mahomes' first year. So if he loses his first playoff game, I don't think it should go on Reid. So I don't think he gets fired. What was the second year?
Vance Joseph with Denver, because John Gruden obviously has job security because the amazing haircut, driving a 1999 Dodge Caravan with a Nokia cell phone of an owner will keep him. And also
how long has he been in Denver?
Vance will be going into his second season in Denver. Same with Anthony Lynn in LA.
I think definitely Lynn has his job security because I think they'll be good this year, and I think Joseph also has job security after this year.
Yeah.
How do you see this playing out? Who do you think wins, or how do you think it finishes?
Chargers, Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders.
All right, pretty close to what I have. I have Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders.
I think just after today losing Khalil Mack, even though because Marshawn Lynch really didn't have the best season last year with Oakland, the only thing, and also too, the one thing that Oakland's got going though is if Derek Carr's good, if he's like amazing, and you've got Amari Cooper and now Jordy Nelson.
Yeah,
and I believe
defense is always pretty trash though.
Yeah, they have a pretty good offensive line too, though. That was their one key factor last year as well. It was just they were another team where it was they got off to this great start, and then they just plateaued.
Yeah, I think they're just stuck with a team. It's just a team that's fine. They're good. Maybe a playoff team in another division, but with 2.5 good teams, they just aren't going to do anything.
The other big thing too, I feel with the going back to the Chargers is if Keenan Allen can stay healthy. Because apart from that, the only other target Philip Rivers has is Mike Williams.
Yeah,
I
think Rivers has played really well last year. It pains me to say it because I hate the guy, but yeah, the Chargers are on the up right now. I don't know how long their window is, but I think this year they will at least could make the playoffs.
They also have that really good defense with Melvin Ingram I believe it's Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa.
Yep.
And also too, I don't know who their corners are, but like even last year though, how they started off, I believe it was 0-4, beat you guys, and then finish the stretch like it was insane. Like just the stretch they won. I think they only lost 4 games between October and December.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Chiefs, Chargers, Denver, Oakland.
Going back, I know the Chargers have J.J. Watt's brother Derek. Do you think he can have an impact this year with them? Because I know Melvin Gordon's their number 1 running back.
Yeah, probably not. I don't really see it happening. Yeah. I think every other Watt is nothing compared to J.J. obviously. But yeah, no, I think he'll be fine, but I don't think he'll be great.
Yeah, and even now, okay, so speaking of Watts, we're going to go to our last and final division, the one division which has one of a good team, 2 average teams, and a very shitty, but who knows what they'll be this year team. And that's the AFC North. I keep saying NFC, I don't know why. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland. Which teams will... I think this may be Cincinnati's last good year, because honestly, I don't know how this man still has a job, but why... Like, I believe with Baltimore and Cincinnati, if they don't do anything, both coaches are getting let go. Or they're on...
Cincinnati, yes, definitely should.
Yeah. They should have fired him in 2014.
Harbaugh, I don't know. I feel like he just has a job. He won the Super Bowl. I think they're going to keep him forever. Like, freaking... I don't know. Who was it going to say?
Should Flacco still start, or would you put in Lamar Jackson?
I hate Flacco, and I think he sucks, so I'd put in Lamar Jackson. But I think they're going to start the year at least with Flacco. Oh, Mike Scioscia who I was thinking of. He's like Mike Scioscia. You win one championship, and you job security for life.
He's actually retiring at the end of this year, I believe.
Yeah, because they will never fire him.
No, even though the Angels... I remember...
Terrible with the best player in the league for 5 years.
I feel so bad for him. Noted Eagles fan, Mike Trout. That's like the one thing I hate about him.
Yeah.
I have a personal gripe with the Eagles now. I'm a Pats fan.
But I see Pittsburgh obviously running away with it. I see Cleveland coming in second, Cincinnati coming in third, Baltimore finishing dead last. And the 5-0 Ravens in the preseason.
Horrible.
Means nothing.
Yeah, the Ravens, who literally they blew that game last year against Cincinnati. I remember that Week 17 game because everyone was like watching it for the Bills.
Yeah.
And everyone's watching it, and then fucking Baltimore blew it. Cincinnati, though, like, they have Mixon, they have Dalton, they have Green. Their defense really isn't anything special to me.
No.
Same with the Ravens. Like, ever since the Ravens lost Ray Lewis, like, their defense is really... It's not that they're, like... It's not that anything special, but, like, they're always injured, too. Like, a lot of the players. The best player I think they have is, like, Eric Weddle. Terrell Suggs is good, but he's, like, not the Terrell Suggs we saw, like, 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, too... But no, I agree with you. With Pittsburgh's running away with this division again. Hopefully they get Le'Veon Bell locked up.
Content's perfect.
Fucking moron.
Always gets suspended for bad hits.
Yeah, and then you had. I still remember, that was the game, unfortunately, where Shazier got hurt. And I don't have any opinion on the Steelers. I'm just really happy to see that he's walking again.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
just like a human being.
But Cleveland, over under 6 wins.
Let me take a look at the schedule.
I know it's Pittsburgh, New Orleans, and New York.
They could beat the Jets. They could beat the Raiders. They could beat the Ravens. Probably lose to the Chargers. They could beat the Bucks. They could beat the Bengals. Broncos probably lost. Beat the Bengals again. They could beat the Ravens. They can win 7 games.
They open up, though, 2 tough games. They open up with Pittsburgh and New Orleans, though. So that's like, I think like they'll be 0-2. I think they can have a season similar to what the Chargers did last year, but not so much contend for a playoff spot. But I feel like they'll be that team where, like, they're not going to be the 0-16 laughingstock. Because for them, honestly, if they win more than 5 games, I think that's like a step in the right direction. Because you did have
more than 2 games.
Yeah.
A step in the right direction. That offense is really good, though. If I almost said Manziel. If Mayfield plays, Mayfield should start. He's impressing the right guys. I think I hear management loves him just as a person and a player. So if he starts, I think Landry's going to have an amazing year. His main downfall was he gets under 10 yards a catch, but I also think that's because of the team he was on, the quarterback he had. Even when Tannehill went out, like, how many yards do you expect him to have? I think Landry's going to go off. They also have
Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb is going to be really good. They got drafted that cornerback instead of Bradley Chubb.
Denzel Ward.
Yeah. Nick Chubb is the guy I wanted the Giants to draft in the second round. Instead of Barkley, I wanted them to go Josh Rosen.
Sam Rosen, if he wants to play football, he can play football.
Josh Rosen and then Nick Chubb, but obviously didn't happen. I think Nick Chubb will be really good. It's just if the defense is good, they got what's his name,
Myles Garrett.
Imagine Myles Garrett and Bradley Chubb though.
Jesus, that is scary.
That's what pretty much Denver has now, Chubb and Miller.
Yeah. And even, too, with they do have that good, tight end, David, and I'm going to butcher his name, Njoku from Miami.
Yeah, I think that's right, Njoku.
Yeah. And then Jabril Peppers in the safety in the secondary.
Oh, I totally forgot to mention, too, going back to Jacksonville. Be on the lookout for a guy named DJ Chark, LSU wide receiver. Does all the fucking amazing things all the wide receivers did in LSU. I think he will be a breakout star. This year.
A lot of just on a quick college football note, a lot of people I think are picking LSU to kind of be that team to come out of nowhere.
I hope so because I have them being irrelevant after week 3. Brutal schedule. They play number 8 Miami to start the season on Sunday.
I believe that's at AT&T Stadium.
Then they have warm-up game against Appalachian State or some bullshit, which should be our week 1 game, but it's not. And then we have number 9 Auburn, I believe. Yep, number 9 Auburn. So we have 8, a bum team, and 9. So if we lose both those games, we're screwed.
You want to talk about a team with 2 coaches on the hot seat? I think that's Michigan and Auburn tonight. Not Michigan, yeah, Michigan, Notre Dame, my bad.
Definitely Michigan, yeah. I don't really know much about Notre Dame. You have to ask Sean from the Motor City Marks. But, yeah, Harbaugh should be on the hot seat in Michigan.
So is tonight the Motor City Mark Bowl then?
Oh, shit, yeah, they're playing each other. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
No, Michigan wins. Sorry, Sean, but fuck Notre Dame.
But also, too, back to the NFL now. Pittsburgh, do you see them, they're going to be a good team in the regular season, but, postseason, look what happened last year. They fell apart against the Jaguars. Do you think, AFC quickly, who are your 2 teams to, we'll go back to the NFC for this in a second. Who are the 2 teams that get buys in the AFC?
Patriots.
Yeah.
Jaguars.
I have the same thing. But mine's, even though I picked Houston, I'm just going to say whoever gets out of the AFC South and the Patriots are going to get the bye weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Pittsburgh will be a wild card team, probably play,
I'll say it's New England, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, Houston. Actually, no. In record, I'll say New England, Jacksonville, Houston, Pittsburgh, Kansas City.
Los Angeles?
I don't want to pick them, but yeah, probably. Yeah, Los Angeles.
Those will be 2 pretty good wildcard games, though. Pittsburgh and Kansas City and Houston and LA.
Yeah.
I would pick Houston and Pittsburgh. I said, yeah. Pittsburgh, yeah. Yeah, I'd pick Houston and Pittsburgh to win both those games, though. And then AFC, so that's AFC. And then NFC, I have Philadelphia and LA getting buys.
Me too.
And then, record-wise, let's say this. Minnesota, Atlanta, New Orleans for the division. And then the other 2 wildcard teams. I'm going to go with the Packers and Giants.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the 49ers are going to be like that team where it's like they got to win week 15 or 16 and they don't win.
Probably.
Yeah.
I can see that happening. Yeah, I got Eagles, Rams, Packers, Saints, Vikings, Falcons.
And also a couple of things I wanted to ask you. Who were a few? I know we talked about this briefly. Who were a few? One question I had about that. I'm getting my words mixed up, like I always do. One coach you think could finally see getting fired from the NFC?
Not great with coaches' names, so I'll give you a team. Honestly, it should be Garrett from Dallas, but I don't see it happening.
I think Jerry Jones just likes him too much. I think he's just so caught up. It's Jason Garrett, this is my guy when literally you can go out there and get anyone better to coach that team. I think, too, with Dallas, if they can get a better coach, they'll just be that much more better of a football team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I don't see Pete Carroll getting fired, but they will have an atrocious year.
Jay Gruden in Washington?
I want to say that, but they should have no expectations this year. But maybe, if they just want a fresh start. Everyone else seems fine. Like Detroit will be, I feel like they'll have a good year. Not make the playoffs, but they'll still not coach firing worthy. I mean, the Bucks are awful. New coach, though.
Bucks and Bengals are the only two teams I can see firing their coach at the end of the year, like right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, that'll change the record and stuff. If the Jets
are awful,
Bulls
will get fired.
But yeah, apart from that, like you always hear about Black Monday and a lot of stuff happening. But I think last year there was so many bad coaches to get fired that this year it's like there's like no one. Like Chuck Pagano got fired. Also, I think if the Browns do end up sucking as bad as they always do, I think Hugh Jackson's gone.
All right.
If they win, I feel like if they have to win. You know, you said winning 2 games for them is a major accomplishment.
Yeah.
I feel like if they if they win under 5, like say if something bad happens and their season goes to shit, then he'll get fired. Because honestly, 1-31 after 2 seasons and still having your job is a complete shock to me.
I think they love him. I think they think he's a great coach. They just never had the talent. So I don't think he'll get fired, but it could happen.
Yeah, it could. But Dirk Cutter, just because Tampa's that miserable little team in the state of Florida.
All right, so championship game. Who do you have? I'm going to ask you the questions now. In the AFC.
Jacksonville, Pittsburgh. Patriots. Yeah.
That is also the game I have again.
I have Jacksonville, Patriots, which last year. And also, too, another player to add on to that I like for Jacksonville is Miles Jack, the linebacker out of UCLA.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah. Him, and also...
I have that game too, except I think our outcomes are different. I have the Jaguars actually going to the Super Bowl this year.
I'm going to pick the Patriots to win again, but like the same score as last year. It's going to be like down to the wire, last play. And
I think Patriots are always good, and their schedule's not hard. But I don't think they're like even last year they weren't nearly as good as they had been, which is scary because they almost won the Super Bowl.
Yes, and then NFC, I have Los Angeles taking on Green Bay.
That would be awesome.
I think
I actually like rooting for when my team's out.
Something tells me that Philadelphia is just gonna like have a Pittsburgh like episode, and like they're gonna be there's expectations are gonna be way too high for them, and they're gonna somehow just fuck it up in the playoffs.
Honestly, I'd love to see Green Bay make a run, but I'm still gonna pick Philly and Los Angeles, which is weird. I have all the top seeds making it. I just don't like the Rams got so much better, and they were already really good. It's going to be pretty hard to run on a team that has Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh.
And also, too,
a lot of cornerbacks.
Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters. They have an amazing defensive coordinator in Wade Phillips. You have a 31 or 32, I don't care how old he is, but he's in his 30s. Sean McVay just running that offense. You added Brandon Cooks in there. You've got Robert Woods. You've got Cooper Kupp. You've got one of the best running backs in the league in... His last name is slipping my mind. Todd Gurley running the ball. Jared Goff. If Jared Goff is the Jared Goff we saw last year...
Yeah, which he will be. Cause
who's going to be in... They're probably going to be in Atlanta come February.
He's got a good offensive line. He's got good weapons, and McVay, it works with McVay. So, yeah, I have a Rams-Jacksonville Super Bowl.
Patriots-Rams.
All right. I'm going to say Jacksonville wins because that's what I hope if the Giants are out. But I actually think it could happen this year. Tom Coughlin, baby. It
wouldn't surprise me if that were to happen. And honestly, if Jacksonville beat the Patriots in the AFC Championship game and then won the Super Bowl, I would not be like mad or like pissed off like I kind of was when when Denver won in 2 years ago. But that was only because that was probably one of the worst Super Bowls ever played.
Yeah, and the whole Peyton Manning rivalry.
Yeah, but then like this time too with Jacksonville, it's kind of like, I don't know, that miserable team that came out of nowhere who draft like the Houston Astros winning the World Series last year.
Yeah.
Like
True.
yeah.
Besides Miles Jack, they're pretty likable.
Do you like Jalen Ramsey?
No, that's what I meant. Not Miles Jack. Sorry, Jalen Ramsey. Besides Jalen Ramsey, they're likable.
Going over everyone and being like, oh yeah, calling like Matt Ryan and like Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, like all this stuff, like, oh yeah, can't throw good, overrated, and all this stuff. It's like, learn your place in this league. And also too, because I know Jacksonville and Atlanta played a preseason game, and literally I think Matt Ryan was immediately targeting Ramsey.
Wow.
I think Ramsey's a chance to get burned. He's a very good player though, that's the thing. He can back it up, but this year for Defensive Player of the Year though, if there's anyone to win it from that team, I think it's either going to be Calais Campbell, Telvin Smith, or Dante Fowler.
I'm going to pick J.J. Watt.
That's the obvious pick. I'm saying from Jacksonville, but also too, Aaron Donald can win it.
Sure.
Yeah. But no, with the Super Bowl for me, I have the Pats beating the Rams. I just feel like in a game like that, I feel like experience will go up against experience, just because the Eagles, the difference between the Eagles defense and the Rams defense is the Eagles had an overall complete defense. The Rams do too, but I think the Eagles are just that much better of a defense.
All right.
Yeah, but what was also going to talk about here? But also, that's the 2018 NFL season. We get started on Thursday. I cannot wait for this to happen. If you want to come back and talk hockey in a little bit, probably end of the month, we can do that. But this is why we love sports and all that stuff. But Alex, thank you for joining the podcast. This will be up soon. No problem. I know you talk football. You have good takes. You have good opinions. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for us here on No Holds Barred. Thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully, TJ and I can do one soon, whenever we get the time to. It's just a busy time of year. But anyway,
TJ to talk about football.
Oh, God, he'll literally just say, like, yeah, the Bills and the Browns and an AFC Championship game.
Classic.
Literally, that's him. Yeah, literally. Oh, my God. I can't get enough into them. He's actually doing his first fantasy football draft on Tuesday.
Jesus.
He's asking how it works, and I was, like, literally telling him, mock draft.
Just look at it says who's going to be good. Just follow it.
Yeah, literally, just follow the board. You'll be fine. Boom. But anyway, guys, that's all we have for time today on the podcast. Just over an hour, actually.
Nice.
Yes, you always can watch or listen to Alex on the Getting Over podcast, Buddy Boy Entertainment, and the awesome Lorenzo Bros YouTube channel, which I'm featured on.
Yes.
But anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining us, episode 8 today. We will see you guys on a later date and time. But for now, take care and enjoy the 2018 NFL football season.